Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur, as we recap last night's 5-2 victory over Nashville SC to end the regular season for Inter Miami on a high note. 3 straight victories, lots of goals, everyone having a ton of fun, including Lionel Messi, Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, Scotty and Saur. All of us having a lot of fun. Lots of things to talk about, why the game turned at halftime, how great Lionel Messi is. We'll give out some awards and all that stuff. But before we do, as always, first things first, Saur, my friend, my co-host, how are you feeling on this lovely Sunday evening?
Oh, it couldn't have gone any better. It could not have gone any better. This is the perfect weekend to be a football fan. I'm very happy. All my teams showed up. All my teams won. And what a way for Inter Miami to finish the season. Ending on a high is always great. We talked about it last episode or in the pre-game show where we said it doesn't really matter what the consequences from this game are. I just want to have fun watching the game. And boy, it was a fun game. Nashville took it to Inter Miami for the first half. They played a really good game. Inter Miami responding in kind, second half, just completely taking the game away from Nashville's hands. And Lionel Messi almost setting the record for the highest goal contributions in a single season. I think that was the clincher for me. I genuinely felt like that could happen at some point during that game. And it was edge of the seat stuff because Inter Miami was scoring for fun by the end of the 20 minutes. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and if you want to get real exciting, MLS counts hockey assists, which is the pass before the assist, as an assist. And that's fine, but it isn't the traditional way to count assists across world football. If you take those out, Messi actually did pass Carlos Vela's 2019 season last night. So, like there's a claim to say that's the best season ever. And, of course, only one penalty goal for Lionel Messi in the entire campaign, and that, of course, came last night. That was the end of the regular season, and I thought it was an incredibly positive end. Of course, not just that game, but the final 3 games, they score 4 against New England, 4 against Atlanta, and 5 against Nashville. They clearly have their scoring boots on. We're going to spend a ton of time talking about Inter Miami and Nashville and this playoff series that's coming up over the next 2 to 3 weeks. But maybe this episode should be more about what happened last night and what happened over the course of the regular season. Are you on board with that?
I'm absolutely on board with that. And as you were talking about Inter Miami having their scoring boots on, we broke our record for the number of goals we scored from last season. Last season, we had 79. This season, we had 81. Throughout the course of the regular season, it didn't feel like Inter Miami was set up to be this explosive goal-scoring machine, but it almost seems that the last few games of the season, maybe the last 10, 15 games, we really exploded and started scoring those goals. First half of the season was more so about the defensive shape, and I'm surprised by this. It didn't feel like at any point that Inter Miami was prolifically scoring goals for fun. But here we are. Clearly, what we're watching is not reflecting in the stats.
Well, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, where if Inter Miami wanted to match or surpass what they did last year, they were going to have to finish on an incredible high. And that's exactly what they did. Like I just said, 13 goals in the last 3 games. It's 16 goals in the last 4 games if you want to go back to that Chicago game that obviously they lost but scored a bunch of goals in. So offensively, they're on a high. I think it took Mascherano basically the whole season to get to this point, but they got to this point where this team is designed and playing like they should be and how they're built to play. And so you're right, there was a sort of emphasis early in the season on defense. For this roster, that never made sense, and we talked about it a lot, how it never made sense. But they've now gotten to where they need to get to, and hopefully that's going to ride them through the playoffs in a way that's really healthy and takes us to the MLS Cup.
That's the hope.
Okay, let's get into the game. There was a ton of action, and I'm sure we'll go back to some of these moments as we talk about what happened, why, and as we get into awards. But I just want to run through the goals because some of them were fantastic, and I do think they tell the story of the game in a pretty complete way. Nashville really in control of the first half, but against the run of play in the 34th minute, Messi collects the ball sort of 45 yards away from goal, just dribbles through and past two guys about 22 yards outside the box. He whips in a shot in that sort of drifting to his left in that near post from outside the box shot that's just hard and low and impossible to defend. He whips it in. Inter Miami gets the 1-0 lead, even though it does feel like Nashville might be playing better.
Nashville definitely had a good game plan. They were taking the game to Inter Miami, and this was the first shot that Inter Miami had on goal. Lionel Messi created this goal out of nothing. He took the ball very close to the middle of the pitch, and after that, it was him just taking players on, and what a finish. By the way, Nashville had much easier opportunities in front of goal, and they fluffed their lines, and Lionel Messi creating something out of nothing just goes to show that this is the kind of talent that we need to sometimes overcome opposition that is well set up, is difficult, not an easy opposition to play against. And Inter Miami got a bit lucky, of course, riding on Messi's quality, but that felt very good. Beautiful, beautiful goal. But Nashville was definitely on top, and I was a bit worried at that point. Even though it was 1-0, I thought Nashville could potentially get a goal or two if they had their scoring boots on.
Yeah, a couple nice saves by Rocco early in the game that I'm sure we'll come back to when we get to awards. But they deserved a goal, and they do get it in the 43rd minute. Hani Mukhtar with a cross to Sam Surge. Surge kind of bodies and jumps over Rodrigo de Paul for an easy header. Nothing Rocco could have done. I think rewinding that play 10 seconds, you might have wanted your defenders to be positioned differently. I don't think Inter Miami set themselves up for success in that way, in that specific moment. But ultimately, the only thing that matters is Nashville gets the goal. It's 1-1. Surge, who there was some talk about maybe if he has a fantastic game, he'll make a run at the Golden Boot as well. He gets a goal. Probably at this point, it doesn't matter because Messi's already scored. But it's 1-1. And in terms of winning this game, that not only felt like it mattered, but it felt deserved for Nashville. They had certainly earned an opportunity to equalize and get on the score sheet.
When I first watched the game, it almost felt like Inter Miami's midfield was being completely cut apart. But on the rewatch, I thought there was another tactic that Nashville was employing really well. That was spreading the ball out onto their flanks very quickly and catching Chelo Weigand and Jordi Alba out. They were using their wingers, they were using their wide players really well. Most of their opportunities came through crosses. Saraj had a header that was straight at Rocco. There was another opportunity, and then the goal came through from the cross as well from Hani Mukhtar. They were combining their midfield play by finding those line-breaking passes along with switching the balls out. So Inter Miami was almost caught between the devil and the deep sea, trying to understand where Nashville is going to go next. It was very dangerous. I think we got extremely lucky. Rocco pulled off some really good saves. But I would want to keep something in mind that this was Inter Miami's weakest defense. If we actually go into the playoffs with a different defensive setup, I think we should be okay. But the issue is quite clear. Inter Miami's midfield was always running away from the ball. So Rodrigo de Paul, Sergio Busquets were both running towards their own goal rather than pushing forward. And we were often caught on the back foot, which kept the pressure going from Nashville. And they eventually got that goal, which I think they deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you made some great points there that I want to come back to when we talk about why the first half and the second half looked so different, because that's exactly what it looked like. And if you start to look at the statistics, which we'll bring up in a few minutes, that's exactly what happened. And then Nashville gets the go-ahead goal, which I also think is hard to argue they deserved. 6th minute of first half stoppage time. Allende with a turnover. Hani Mukhtar makes a dashing run, and Gonzalo Lujan doesn't really follow him into the area. And Mukhtar receives the ball, gets a clean shot off. He hits the far post, but the rebound kind of just bounces right off of Jacob Schaffelberg, who's following the play. His feet goes in. Nothing Rocco could have done about that. And so for Inter Miami, it's down 2-1 and getting kind of sliced through on the road in a really dangerous way.
I think I lost you there for a second, but I am back. So hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. But again, the opportunity for Nashville came from the wings. Hani Mukhtar finding some space on not the middle of the pitch, but more so towards the wide side. And then some really good angling, gets the shot off, hits the post. I'm like, again, we got very lucky. But unfortunately, Jacob Schaffelberg was right there to convert it. I thought Nashville was on top by then, and they kind of deserved it. They genuinely did. Inter Miami was not that impressive going forward, and we were very loose on the ball. Nashville knew exactly how they wanted to exploit our weaknesses, and they were getting the best of us in most areas of the pitch, winning the second balls, getting the ball off into good positions.
Yeah. Going to the second half, totally different story, though. Inter Miami makes the halftime adjustment, and then they kind of take over the game. Tale of two halves. For as dominant as Nashville was seemingly in the first half, Inter Miami just as dominant in the second half with much more clinical finishing. And Allende misses a sitter in the 48th minute. Messi has a cross into Baltasar that forces a really nice save from Joe Willis. Suarez has finally the moment that it's the breakthrough. Messi puts a pass into Suarez. He kind of tips it, but it then hits the hand of Andy, or the arm of Andy Nahar. It is a penalty. It is inside the box. And Messi, for the first time this season, second time this season, I guess, in the MLS, steps up to the penalty box and kind of just stares at Joe Willis, forces Joe Willis to pick a side, and then he kind of just casually kicks it the other way. Inter Miami goes equal 2-2, and from that point on, it was kind of a wrap.
And we can talk in more detail what the changes were at halftime. And I identified a couple of different alterations from the first half, but I think you said it offline very simply and accurately. Inter Miami just played 20 yards higher, and that automatically put us on the front foot. And when we were in the first half, it almost felt like we were chasing the game, just running away from the ball, trying for Nashville to not get to us. And in doing so, we were almost inviting unnecessary pressure. In the second half, it just felt like Inter Miami knew they had to take the game to Nashville. And that's why they just completely suffocated Nashville all on the offense the entire time. And it looked very good. It looked very good. Some good patterns of play. One opportunity for Allende. It was Messi and Alba doing what they do best, but Allende unable to finish it off. If it was Suarez, that would have been the perfect trifecta to get a goal back. But Inter Miami, I thought, knew exactly what they needed to fix in that second half, and that was very encouraging to me. Some gaping holes still, because it didn't fix the midfield issues entirely, but at least offensively we were a lot better.
I want to continue this conversation, but let's run through the rest of this game first, because I think that's maybe the most interesting talking point from this game. 4 minutes later, Inter Miami gets the go-ahead goal. Not at, I should mention, Ian Frey and Telasco Segovia come into the game after that second goal. Then just 4 minutes later, Inter Miami gets the go-ahead goal. It's Messi into Suarez. Suarez, hard, low cross. Joe Willis does a good job of coming out, but he's not able to collect the ball. Taps it into a dangerous area, and Baltasar's right there for the easy tap in. Inter Miami goes up 3-2, and again, at this point, it's all Inter Miami. Nashville really struggling to do much of anything at this point.
Yeah, tale of two halves. Inter Miami looked like Nashville did in the first half, and I really enjoyed that, because at some points this entire season, you've looked at Inter Miami and you're like, we're just waiting for individual quality to get us, to bail us out and to win us the game. This was more than that. It genuinely felt like Inter Miami was playing as a team. The patterns were really, really flowing, and I enjoyed what I was watching. And the scoreline completely changed within a matter of 2 minutes, but Inter Miami came out quite hot in that second half. And like Nashville deserved in the first half, I thought Inter Miami was good for those 2 goals in that second half up until that point.
Yeah, I agree. Couple more chances both ways. Rocco has to make a nice save on a Sam Sturridge opportunity where he heads it and thinks he loops it over the keeper. And for Rocco, especially, who is a short shorter goalkeeper, doesn't have that huge length. He makes a really nice reverse save to make sure that hits the post and then comes out. And then the 81st minute, Inter Miami puts it away. Lionel Messi, again, taking control, puts an entry ball into Ian Frey. Frey just taps it back into Messi's path, and then Messi far post. Easy money on that one. It's 4-2. Messi gets his first hat trick of the season. All of a sudden, with 10 minutes plus stoppage time to go, it looks like the Vela record is in play. And this game is, for all intents and purposes, won at that point.
From squeaky bum time in the 50th minute to just plain chilling in the 65th minute, it turned around very quickly. Lionel Messi taking the game by the scruff of its neck and doing what he does best. None of the goals he scored actually were easy. They were all quite difficult goals. Well, obviously the penalty, but the 2 goals that he scored were not simple at all. I thought Ian Frey had a really good layoff into him. And Inter Miami getting the 4 goals. Lionel Messi always scores a hat-trick on the last day of the regular season.
It's a trend. And then the capper off where we're all just having a great time. 91st minute. Ian Frey with a nice dribble down the right side. I don't know if we've seen him do that enough lately. Then puts in, kind of attracts attention to the right, puts in the cross. Suarez, instead of taking it, dummies it, leaves it into the path for Messi. Messi also, instead of taking it, just does a little bit of a step and then a pushover, a dump off to Talasco Segovia, who has an easy tap in at that point. And of course, everyone is just having a great time at this point on the road. The Nashville fans, a little worried because they're also watching all the other games, realizing this is happening to their first round opponent. 5-2, incredibly fun way to end the season. Great game. Last night after the game, I thought there were some poor performances. After rewatch, I felt much better. I thought it was a pretty good team performance. A couple structural issues in the first half that let them down, but player for player, I thought a lot of players had really solid to good games, and I think everyone by the end is feeling good about themselves, having fun, and it's a goal-scoring bonanza. And that's kind of how you want the season to end, right there, on a high.
Yeah, especially when the game doesn't count for naught, honestly, and when this is going to be your opponent in the next round, it doesn't hurt to beat them 5-2 at their own home ground. So really good boost for the momentum. Go on.
Last year, Inter Miami played Atlanta, I think the third to last game of the regular season at Atlanta, and it was a 2-2 draw that Atlanta absolutely played with Inter Miami, and it was the blueprint for how to have success against Inter Miami. And so you think about that right at the end of the season, taking that into the playoffs, and you're like, okay, well, Atlanta's actually not that easy of a place to play at, and they do have the turf field. Compare that to this, where it's like just a few weeks earlier, we went to their house and kind of beat them up. Like, this is a much different feeling than what Inter Miami had against specifically their opponent on the road last season. And that's what happened last night, really.
And don't get me wrong, Nashville is a very tough side. They're a good side. They've got some really good weapons. But this was a Nashville team that had every single one of their starting players on the pitch. And Inter Miami in the second half completely toyed with them. So I'm not as concerned about facing them in the playoffs. Obviously, you can't be complacent. But if we can fix up some of the structural issues that you mentioned that Inter Miami had in the first half, which I think will happen by changing personnel, by learning from this particular game, I think Inter Miami is well prepared going into the playoffs. Again, we can have a broader conversation about that later. But overall, a really fun game. Very good way of ending the season. And I thought both teams really had a good showing, with Inter Miami just completely dominating with their quality by the end of the game.
Okay, let's get into why it happened. Well, before we do, let's talk about Nashville just for a brief moment, because we always do this after every game. We run down what happens, and we want to save a few minutes to talk about the opposition. We'll do this briefly because we're going to spend so much time talking about Nashville over the next couple of weeks. But they came out, they had 3 really solid players, and I thought in the first half did a great job of feeding them service, and they looked really dangerous. And then in the second half did a really poor job of feeding them service and looked pretty inept compared to what Inter Miami was doing. So I think you're right. Like, I think Inter Miami has to feel really confident about this particular matchup.
You know what I was happy with? Nashville was exactly how they were advertised. Like, they didn't surprise me in any way. We
No.
knew that
Yeah, I
their
agree.
offensive threat is going to be there. Their front three are really good. Hani Mukhtar, Sam Surridge have had a fantastic season. Second most combined goal contributions after Messi and Jordi Alba. So that's not a joke of an offense. They will create opportunities. And I was happy with the fact that they didn't necessarily surprise me. I knew when I did my research on them, they are going to exploit the wings. You mentioned the Gonzalo Lujan and the Chelo Weigand triangle as the dangerous part of this game. And that's exactly what they were getting the ball into, the spaces that Lujan and Weigand were leaving behind. The issue was Sam Surridge was finding some good space on the back post, which should have been Weigand's to cover. It was dragging Rodrigo de Paul out as well because structurally we weren't set up well. So you could see what the issues were, but none of them were like, oh, this is a team that, has completely surprised me with the way they've set up. They were playing well through the middle. They had some good midfielders who were overwhelming us by sheer numbers. And then, as you said, servicing the ball into their players who were creating opportunities on goal. A good performance and game plan from them for the first 45 minutes. But what made me even happier was how Inter Miami figured out how to nullify some of that threat.
Just broadly speaking about Nashville, they fired Gary Smith in the middle of last season, in part because they had a couple of really poor performances against Inter Miami. He was a very defensive coach. He's a guy that wanted to bunker and counter, and that was the best way to beat Inter Miami over the course of the first year and a half, and maybe even still. They went to BJ Callahan rightfully. I think it has all of their fans really excited. They win their first trophy at the U.S. Open Cup, and they scored more goals than they ever have in any season in franchise history this year. But I do think it makes them a worse matchup against this particular Inter Miami team. And so lots of positives. I don't think that switch is going to help them in this game or in this series. Okay, first half, Nashville. They accumulate 2.76 XG to 0.61 for Inter Miami. Clearly, the stat line showing tons of opportunity for Nashville, very few for Inter Miami. Second half, almost a total reversal. 0.21 for Nashville, over 3 XG for Inter Miami. Why did it change? I think that's the biggest question, and I certainly feel much better about what the answer is after I rewatched the game today.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts. Tell me if you agree with me. If you don't, then you're obviously wrong and I'm right. But the first half was Inter Miami, I think, played too passively in the first half. They were inviting the pressure. We've already mentioned they were playing on the back foot, which meant a lot of the times our midfielders were actually running towards their own goal rather than taking the pressure onto Nashville. Instead of pressing them, we were actually retreating, which is never good, especially against a team like Nashville, who has some really good offensive weapons. That was one issue that we were facing. Second was whenever we had the ball, we weren't protecting it well. There were a lot of sloppy passes. The back line was letting loose the ball a few times. Rodrigo de Paul had a couple of really sloppy passes. I thought Rodrigo de Paul looked much better every time he was facing against his goal with the back to our goal and actually trying to go forward. He had a couple of passes out to Baltazar Rodriguez, to Chelo Weigand, which I thought has to be his game. This is what he needs to do, play forward rather than be more passive and defensive. And then I think the third part that I identified was Rodrigo de Paul was given the responsibility to be our building playmaker, not Sergio Busquets. He was playing behind Sergio Busquets in that first half, which to me was very odd. And it sort of stopped into Miami's forward possession play. And because of that, we were losing the ball and we weren't getting Sergio Busquets on the ball enough. And that allowed Nashville to put the pressure on, and they kept coming, and that's why Inter Miami struggled. In that second half, the first change that happened was Rodrigo de Paul went higher up. Sergio Busquets, even when we had two centre-backs, sat in between the two of them. So now he was the one dictating the play, feeding the ball into Rodrigo de Paul, who now became a funnel between Busquets and Messi, which I think worked well. Still didn't nullify some of the issues that we had of being caught on the counter, because we saw Hani Mukhtar catch us off in a couple of times. We had to retreat. There was a lot of spacing issue in the middle, but it looked better in possession. We kept the ball a lot better in possession. And I thought that improved the play. And then as soon as we had Ian Frey come on, Telasco Segovia come on, that meant that Sergio Busquets was now playing as a pure centre back. So we had more protection in the back line with the on the ball play. And then the two of them with Telasco Segovia and Ian Frey, they're better on the ball as players. So it allowed us to build better. And then once Yannick Bright came on, I think that looked perfection. And that's why we were enjoying so much of the ball, because every time Nashville tried to counter us, we had protection in behind. With now Bright being able to do that retreating job, and Rodrigo de Paul can just worry about creating play up front. So that was my breakdown, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
I think, just to, in my head, make this all fit neatly, I think there's three parts to this game defensively for Inter Miami. You have the first half, you have that 18 minutes between the beginning of the second half and when they make their first substitution pattern and bring on Ian Frey and Telasco Segovia, and they take off Chelo Wegon and Gonzalo Lujan. And then you have the final, 40 minutes of the game, whatever it ended up being, 35 minutes of the game. In the first half, I think you nailed a really interesting point. I did notice maybe too often Rodrigo de Paul being the guy trying to initiate progression, ball progression, where A, he's not in great form right now, but B, even when he is in great form, he's not as good as that as Sergio Busquets. So it's not something I want to see as often as I did in the first half, and I think that was really a really nice spot from you. And then, but the real problem was we were playing this game in the middle of the field. Near the halfway line. We had plenty of turnovers, and it allowed them to get in quick transition. But the other thing it allowed them to do is not worry about Suarez beating them in behind, not a ton of threat from Baltasar Allende in behind. It allowed their back line to get forward, and it allowed their fullbacks, Andy Najar and Daniel Lovitz, to be a part of their offense and to put in some really nice service. There's a moment where Lovitz puts in a ball through Busquets and Jordi Alba, kind of really picks a nice angle to Hani Mukhtar. Hani Mukhtar has a shot wide open at the edge of the box. He puts high. And then Andy Najar, a similar opportunity, puts in a cross that I think Serge just heads right into Rocco. But it allowed them to get numbers forward, which created pressure for the back line to handle all three of the frontline players for Nashville, where if you have those guys playing back, you have the midfielders being a part of the defense, and I think that really helped them moving into the second half. As they went into the second half, they said, we got to stop playing in this middle of the park, and they pushed everyone 20 yards higher. They did start to press, and we know Inter Miami can't effectively press for 90 minutes or even 60 minutes, but they can do it in 10, 15, 20-minute spurts. And I thought that was the key characteristic that got this game back on level playing field at the start of the second half and actually put it in Inter Miami's favor. They were playing that game in Nashville's half for the first 15 to 18 minutes of the second half. And you noticed this last night, and you talked about it on the Raw Reaction. And you were absolutely spot on. They had totally turned the tide from the first whistle of the second half. They were playing in Nashville's half, pressing them high, forcing their defenders to try and play through it, and they couldn't. They were turning the ball over a lot, and it was giving Inter Miami a lot of time and opportunity sort of entering and in the final third of Nashville. And that's where Inter Miami is the most dangerous, because they have the greatest players in the world in those parts of the field. And then they eased off of that as they make the substitutions, but the substitutions were inherently attacking. You take off Gonzalo Lujan as a center back, you put on Telasco Segovia as an attack-minded midfielder, and then, of course, you take Chelo Wegon off and you put Ian Frey. You improve your attacking ability. You improve the sort of natural positions of everyone in an attacking or towards an attacking disposition. And so basically in the second half, they played this game much more in Nashville's territory, and Nashville just couldn't handle it. Their back line was not capable of playing through it. Their midfielders weren't really capable of playing through it. And I really counted 2 opportunities in the back half, in the second half, that were legitimate opportunities for Nashville, and Rocco and the defense handled it. Jordi Alba had to make one nice recovery, and Rocco had to make one nice save. But when you compare that to what Inter Miami was able to create for themselves offensively, it's absolutely a trade-off you make every time.
No, I think that's the right breakdown of the entire game. And again, I think I'm confident that going into this series, Inter Miami has the tools to figure this out. You mentioned it that this is a good matchup for Inter Miami. And that for me is a much more heartening situation than what we faced against Atlanta. I thought Atlanta had our number and they knew how to beat Inter Miami. Nashville, we're going to face some issues. It's not going to be smooth sailing for the entire series. And maybe we're not able to repeat the same performance when we go into that second game. But I think at home, Inter Miami has the players and the tools to actually figure this Nashville team out. And we have the reinforcements on the bench who I believe, watching yesterday's game, can actually add to the positive aspects of what Inter Miami needs to do to Nashville. So there was a lot of good takeaways from me. I hope we're right in this, and I hope the series works out the way we want it to. But yesterday was a good test of, if Inter Miami is under pressure, how is Nashville going to do that? And how does Inter Miami have to come out of it? So I think in some ways, if Javier Mascherano is a good coach, he's going to go back, look at that tape, and actually figure this team out. Because I don't think Nashville has another way of hurting Inter Miami. What they offered yesterday is it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's it right from Nashville. And if Inter Miami can deal with it effectively, we'll have it figured out.
And I think the key to making it really hard for Nashville is you force their fullbacks to stay back defensively. You force their defensive midfielders, Yazbek, and the other one whose name's escaping me at the moment.
Tagseth.
Yeah, thank you, Tagseth, to stay back because they're so worried about what's happening the other way. They can't be a part of the buildup, and it gives you numerical advantages defensively because you don't have to stretch out and worry about those players. You stop creating lanes for entry balls into the Mukhtars and the Surges where they can be dangerous in your own box. So I think that's the key. You got to put the pressure on them from the get-go, and Inter Miami didn't do that in the first half. They made the adjustment at halftime, and we saw what happened in the second half.
The only issue is, before we move on, if Nashville converts those opportunities in that first half, it could have gotten away from Inter Miami. That's my only concern.
But hopefully you learned the lesson. You know now. You have to put the pressure on, and if they do, they can be up 3-0 at halftime, and they can be the team that coasts in the second half instead of making this game, which was admittedly, even as I thought Inter Miami turned the tide and had the right strategy going into the second half, it was a nervous game for the first 65 minutes. It was, tied at 2 going to the 67th minute, and I don't want to be there next Friday night. So, you know what else helps?
Winning.
Having Lionel Messi on the field.
Yeah.
I think that was the big talking point for me in this game. I mean, I don't know if you had anything else, but the play from almost everyone I thought was really good, except for a couple structural issues, which we identified. We weren't aggressive enough. I thought we did maybe over-rely on Rodrigo de Paul in the midfield, especially in possession. A couple turnovers that were sloppy. Tadeo Allende had one that led to a goal, but for the most part, I thought everyone played to what they're supposed to be or better. And so I felt pretty good about this game after the rewatch, even in spite of the fact that we gave up a number of real clean-cut opportunities going to the second half. And almost everything else I want to say, we're going to get to an award. So I don't know. What else about this game was good for you?
No, I think you're absolutely spot on with that. You can't expect Chelo Egan to suddenly have the best game of his life against Nashville and do things that he's not done, right? He is going to struggle against Sam Surridge. We identified that as an issue. Same goes for Gonzalo Lujan. I think the one player who may have underperformed for me was Allende, who was quite ineffective, but we've seen that from him this season as well. It was structural issues that went a little differently in the first half, and we fixed that. Player-wise, I thought the first 11 was incorrect. Javier Mascherano picked the wrong 11, but I can forgive him for that because I don't think he's going to do that in the playoffs. And that's about it, really. I think the biggest talking point was why the changes happened in that first and the second half, and we've dissected that well enough. And you could see, even with the same set of players, in that first half of the second half, from the 45th to like the 70th minute, Inter Miami was still on top, which goes to show that even with the poor set of players, it wasn't necessarily a player issue. It was more so a structural issue.
I just want to. I don't know. Never mind. I just got distracted by something, and there's no. I got distracted by something on Twitter. I can mention at the end of the show, but for now, I want to leave it. It'll distract us. Okay, let's get to awards because let's be honest, that's what we're all here for. Some good old-fashioned fun awards, and because I went first last time, no, darn it, it's because I'm a gentleman. I'll let you go first this time. But before I do, I'll remind everyone: 6 awards after every game. A Heron of the match, a Heron that flew north, and 2 individual awards each. Because I'm a gentleman, I'll let you go first, Saur. Who was the man of the match for this game?
Gonzalo Lujan. No. Lord Lujan, unfortunately, does not compare to Supreme Commander Messi. Messi finally coming through with the 3 goals. We've all been craving for that hat trick this entire season. And he was like, you know what, Inter Miami fan base, you stuck around in the good times, you stuck around in the bad times. I've teased you enough. Tonight I'm going to score 3. And I'm going to tease you a little bit more by just making you feel like I'm going to break that Carlos Vela record. But he was not brace man tonight. He was hat-trick man. And I thought that was his best performance this entire season. Absolutely supreme. Otherworldly, and just played so well. Those goals were phenomenal.
You know, we've been talking about what we should do for the midweek episode, and maybe we should just go back and rewatch all of Messi's goals from this season. Like that feels like a fun way.
That'd be such a fun episode, honestly. Everyone would be down for that.
You just reminded me as you said that, Grand Emperor. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted right now. I apologize.
I said
Lionel
Supreme
Messi,
Commander.
Supreme Commander. I looked up just now what the leader of the Death Star was, and the title is Grand Moff, which isn't really like it's not really applicable to anywhere but Star Wars, so it didn't really fit. So that's why I wanted to leave it off.
Maybe for an award next time.
Yeah, maybe for an award next time. He's the leader of the Death Star when things are going right, and they were the Death Star last night. Like they were unbeatable. Maybe they had a whole.
Are we the bad guys?
We've always been
we're the bad guys.
We've always been the Empire.
Ask anybody else in the MLS. We are the bad guys. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that actually fits really well. When they're playing well, they are the Death Star. And sure, if you're really in that aggressive mode, which gets the best out of this team offensively, there is a leaky hole in the back that could be your ruin. But aside from that, you are so threatening, so dangerous, and it only happens when Lionel Messi's playing like this. And he's incredible, man. I don't know what else to say. Man of the match, man of the season, MVP, Golden Boot, officially clinches the Golden Boot last night, by the way. And he's going to be the first ever back-to-back MVP. There's nothing else to say about this guy, really. He's incredible.
Yeah, and hopefully there's no Luke Skywalker to beat Darth Vader because, let's be honest, I think Lionel Messi is better than Darth Vader.
Well, let me ask you a question. Because in the first original Star Wars movie, the Death Star gets blown up and the Empire loses. But in the second one, they win, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go.
The last season
round two
was A New Hope,
there
and this season is Empire Strikes Back. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see how you're saying this. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I feel much better now.
Yeah.
The real world is fiction, right? Yeah. No, I was looking at his SofaScore page today, and if you just read his game log, it's just 10, 9.6, 9.2, 10, 9.1, 8.8. It's just, and then it's 2 goals and assists, 2 goals and assists, 3 goals, a goal and an assist, 2 assists. It's crazy that one player can be this effective, and yet we get to watch it every game. And we watch it every game, and it's still hard for us to really describe how good he is.
He has like 7+9 ratings in the last 10 games. It's insane.
He had 5. I saw someone on Twitter say 5 10.0 ratings this year.
That's insane. The lowest he has is 6.6 against Charlotte, I think, in the last 10 games, I think. But damn. Anyways.
Yeah. Maybe we should just do a Messi episode this week. Okay. I did rewatch the game today, and I went into the game thinking there was some guys in the back line that didn't play particularly well. Maybe Suarez, maybe Allende. Rodrigo de Paul is a guy I didn't think had a great game. And then I rewatched and I thought a lot of really solid performances. So as we move into the Heron that flew north, I actually thought this was a little bit tougher than maybe I thought it might be last night. But there was an obvious answer to me. And before I say it, I will just say the Heron that flew north, the player who was doing the wrong thing because Florida Herons don't fly north for the winter. They don't fly anywhere for the winter. And in that vein, giving the Heron that flew north last night, and hopefully for the last time this season, Gonzalo Lujan, who I thought had a really tough first half and was most culpable for, or was at least partially culpable for both goals that Nashville scored. And I will also note that he came off in the 63rd minute, and Inter Miami exploded off after that.
It's only fitting that the last man of the match award of the season goes to Lionel Messi. And the last Heron that flew north award goes to Gonzalo Lujan. So the best player gets the best award and the worst player gets the worst award. Only fitting. So I am not complaining. I thought he was meh. There were a few instances where you could clearly see the defensive structural issues were because Lujan and Chelo Weigand were in there. He's not particularly great, and you can't expect him to be phenomenal in a game when that's his level. He had a few really poor passes, put us in a dangerous position from time to time. I think there was one instance where he gave the ball away. Nashville were about to attack. Then we got the ball back, and then Inter Miami attacked. So I think a lot of the reasons why the game went back and forth was because defensively we weren't that sound, and Lujan was at the heart of it. So I completely agree. I think maybe Allende, Maxi Falcone could also have been in contention. Chelo Weigand perhaps, but I am fine with you giving this award to Gonzalo Lujan. And I was going to say, if Lionel Messi is Grand Moff Tarkin, then Gonzalo Lujan is Jar Jar Binks, because that's the level he plays at.
No, he's the hole in the Death Star, right? It's inexplicably there. And that's exactly what Gonzalo Lujan has been. I don't need to say anything bad about Gonzalo Lujan in this episode. He shouldn't be a starter in the playoffs, and if he's not, then I wish him luck in the rest of his career elsewhere. And I'll leave it at that. Inter Miami won 5-2 in a really fun game, and I don't need to say ill of anybody. So I'll leave it at that. Saur, what's your first award?
So my first award is a Swans Fidelity Award.
I had a really good award that I think you just swiped for me. A Swans Fidelity goes for Rocco Ríos Novo because he had the flexibility, the dexterity, and the beauty that only a Swan could match. Boom. Nailed it.
No, not even close. So you can keep your award. But the Swans Fidelity. Swans mate for life, which means once they find their partner Swan, they stick together. Messi is obviously the Heron, the greatest, Grand Moff Tarkin, all of that. But without his partner Swan, his career would not have been defined in the way that it's had. Jordi Alba, the most loyal Swan that there is, in his last regular game for Messi, in his last regular season for Messi, with Messi, has exploded in the last few games. The reason Inter Miami has been scoring that many is because Jordi Alba has been absolutely phenomenal. He has been brilliant. He has been the best dance partner for Messi, and I can't believe we're at the final stretch of seeing Messi and Alba play together. And I think as the last game of the season, this deserved an award. Their partnership deserved an award. And that's why a Swans Fidelity Award goes to Jordi Alba, who yesterday, once again, had a brilliant, brilliant game.
I had an award titled "Why Did the Good Die Young?" because, and it's the same idea. He's got it. Can I just read you his game log from the last couple, maybe 6 weeks? The Seattle home game, not the Leagues Cup game, but the Seattle game 2 games later. Since that game, he had in that game, he had a goal and an assist. The next game, he has an assist. The next game, he's part of a 4-0 beatdown of NYCFC. The next game, an assist. The next game, an assist. The next game, 2 goals. The next game, a goal and an assist. And last night, he has an assist and probably should have had a second. He is on a tear, on par with Lionel Messi. I don't know if you heard this on the broadcast. I didn't really clock it last night, but I did on the rewatch. The best partnership in terms of goal and assist output this season
is Jordi Alba and Lionel Messi.
Not Messi and Suarez, not anyone else, not Evander and Denke or whoever across the country. It's Lionel Messi and Jordi Alba, who again is on this monster tear that hopefully might carry us to the MLS Cup. I think he is been the difference in why Inter Miami's found great form over the last couple of weeks.
And I think this is going to be important going into the playoffs because of a healthy and fit and firing Jordi Alba is untouchable. And if Inter Miami wants to make a deep run in the playoffs, this is it, man. We need him. And I'm just glad that he's peaked at the right time this season.
Can I just say this? I pointed out the time where I thought Jordi Alba was given the green light. You're an attacking player now. You're no longer a fullback, and finally given the opportunity to be what he's been for the rest of his career. He was given permission to be that by Javier Mascherano. It was this Orlando City double partnership, or double games rather, in a span of 10 days. And since that point, that was on July 26th, since that last Cincinnati game, 7 goals, 8 assists in the last 2 months of the season. 15 goal contributions, 7 goals, 8 assists. I think it's his career high for goals scored in a season. And he's been the best left back in world history. And I'm sorry, MLS history and one of the best in world history. I can't believe this is the end for a player who's doing this right now.
I mean, ending on a high, yeah, but I think ending too soon is worse. So I hope he doesn't regret this decision. He can easily play for another 2 years. But alas, us as fans just have to enjoy him while he can.
By the way, hold on 1 second. Never mind. Sorry, Janet in the chat asked, when is the MVP ceremony or presentation? The finalists will be announced on October 23rd. I was looking for the date the award will be awarded, but the finalists will be announced on the 23rd. Okay, my first award is not Why Did the Good Die Young? It's the King of the Hill Award.
Rocco Ríos Novo for finally cementing his place as the number 1 goalkeeper on Inter Miami. That's the only king on the hill, man. That's the only king of the hill.
Do you know what the King of the Hill game is?
I think so.
King of the Hill is a children's game where there's like a dominant spot, and the idea is everyone tries to be on that spot, and whoever's on it, you try and push them off. And if you're on it, you got to push everyone away so you can maintain your spot on it. And the idea is to be the last one standing on the hill or on the primary spot at the end of the game. And man, did we see Oscar Starry and Drake Callender and a little bit of Rocco wrestling for that top spot. And here we are at the end. Rocco Ríos Novo standing on it. And by the way, one of the best strategies for that game is to let everyone go after each other, tire themselves out, and then at the end, you sneak in with all your strength and energy and push everyone off right at the end, and then you get in right at the whistle. And that's exactly what Rocco Ríos Novo has done with his goalkeeping position. He deserves to be the starting goalkeeper. I looked up the stats today, and it is a little bit of a smaller sample size with Rocco, but it's getting bigger all the time. In the leagues ranked 6th through 19th, which is what Football Reference uses as like a comparison case, Rocco Ríos Novo is in the 86th percentile as a shot stopper for post-shot expected goals, minus goals conceded. Basically, how good he is as a shot stopper. 86th percentile, and over the last 365 days, so basically this year. Oscar Ustari, 6th percentile. That's what we saw last night, the difference between a really good informed goalkeeper and what we've seen all season. Not worth discussing, but it's there. It's there. He has to be the goalkeeper. He's absolutely earned it. And it's not a matter of if he has a bad game or not. He's the guy for the rest of the season. Period. End of discussion. He has to be. King of the Hill.
Man, we've come so far from all the way thinking that this guy deserves to play in our second team with Inter Miami 2. We generally had this conversation. Like, what's he doing in this team? Let him play with Inter Miami 2, get some minutes, get some experience. Hopefully he can get a move next year somewhere better. To now where we are acknowledging the fact that he should be the starting goalkeeper for this team. And you nailed it. Drake Callender, Ustari fight among themselves, and Rocco Ríos Novo just casually walks in, takes his flag, plants it on the hill, and just sits and watches the chaos unfold. I had an award for him as well, and I think he deserves to be the starting goalkeeper right now on form. Absolutely. He saved us. I think yesterday, if Messi hadn't had the performance that he'd had, maybe you could give it to Jordi Alba, but I thought Rocco Ríos Novo was in contention to be Heron of the match. He was that good yesterday. And the scoreline was 2-1 at halftime because Rocco had some really good saves. And not just that Nashville was shooting straight at him. His positioning's good. He feels confident. He's coming out for the balls now. And I don't want to jinx it. I think he's growing into it. But in the playoffs, I'm very comfortable having him in goal, which is a world's difference from where we were at the start of the season, talking about Rocco Ríos Novo. So kudos to him for sticking it out, for doing what he needs to do on the training pitch. And credit to Javier Mascherano for making the difficult decision of switching out a goalkeeper this close to the playoffs. And I hope he continues with that and there's no surprise in their first game in the playoffs. But Rocco Ríos Novo, you deserve your flowers, man. This is it.
Can you filibuster for just a second? I have to find the date for a quote. Give me 1 second.
All I can say is I think this podcast is all about eating our own words. And I genuinely, when we first signed Rocco Ríos Novo, I remember you and I were doing the series about every single player. And we did one on Rocco Ríos Novo. I don't even think we wanted to release it because we were like, is he going to be on this team for long? I'm not even sure if that's on YouTube.
No, we had been doing so many preseason previews. We were like, can we just save 20 minutes by not doing this one? But we did. Yeah.
We did. And there's a reason that we did it. So here you go, man. King of the Hill.
Okay. On October 3rd, Javier Mascherano, and this is a quote, when asked about advanced stats, he says, we don't put an extreme importance on the numbers. We look at them and give them the corresponding value, but what's most important is the performance on the field. He says they don't care about the advanced stats, and it was clear to me, and I was really mad at him when he said this because it was obvious. And by the way, he's not experienced enough as a coach to just rely on his gut. He doesn't have a gut yet. So he needs to be looking at these numbers. He's a new age coach. He has to be doing that. The next day he starts Rocco against the New England Revolution and has never looked back. So maybe he just said that to throw us all off because he was looking at the advanced stats. Finally, maybe for the first time, maybe someone came to him after he quoted and was like, you should look at this. Because he started Rocco Ríos Novo the next day and has never looked back. So kudos to Mascherano for making the decision. A tough decision, one that we have both talked about, unsure if it was the right one. It was the right one, and I'm sad he didn't get there 3 months earlier because we may have won the Supporters' Shield, but he's there now. And if Rocco helps us win the MLS Cup, I'm going to feel much happier and much better about the whole situation.
Absolutely. And I think Javier Mascherano only made that quote to piss you off. So take that personally.
Well, it certainly worked. He knows his audience. Okay, what is your second award?
My second and final award for the night is a Door to the Future award.
Ooh, a door to the future. This
And
goes.
I should give you an
I already
insight
know,
before
I
you
already know.
decide.
No, I don't need the insight.
Okay,
I'll let you
go.
give it anyways, though. No, I know the answer, but give your insight because it might be interesting.
I picked these awards not just based on the performance, but given that it's the last regular season game, I wanted to give it to players that I thought deserve an award over the course of the season. And like who need to be on this list, in my opinion. So may not have had like an impactful performance or whatever, but anyways, a Door to the Future award.
That does change things.
Go with your gut.
My
Go with
guess
your
is
gut.
not going to change though. It's Telasco Segovia because you saw him in the midfield and you were like, man, if we can get another year of that, you're going to be in love with it. Last night, he goes into the midfield, plays centrally, not just as like a left-sided midfielder, but a central midfielder, and it looks fantastic. And you are so ready for that Yannick Bright, Telasco Segovia, Rodrigo de Paul midfield that I am a little nervous you're never going to get. But it's a good award nonetheless.
That's the award. It really is. It's so simple, isn't it? You put the players in their positions and allow them to thrive. That is going to be a sublime midfield. I don't buy into the theory that Telasco Segovia can't finish 90 minutes. He looked energetic and ready yesterday, but also it's fine if he only plays 80 minutes, right? Like he can be brought off, but the control that he brings, the ball quality that he brings, I was missing that. We haven't seen that in a while. You juxtapose that with Allende, who is just terrible on the ball, and then you have Telasco Segovia, who slowly contributed almost as much, I think, as Rojas did. I think his goal contributions are almost the same level as Rojas last season. So he's chipped away and made sure he's been impactful this entire season. But I am more looking to the next season where Sergio Busquets is not there. You can't have Rodrigo de Paul be that number 6-8 hybrid that Sergio Busquets likes to play as. You need an out and out number 6 central defender, central defensive midfielder, Yannick Bright in there. And those three together would make up the perfect midfield that I think gets the best out of them. And honestly, it could be a world-beating MLS midfield that could win us the trophies next season.
It's a really well-balanced midfield. It really
So
is.
well-balanced.
You have your defensive juggernaut, you have your box-to-box, and you have your guy who can be a box-to-box, but he's an attacking-minded box-to-box. And even Yannick Bright is a defensive-minded box-to-box. So you really have a lot of athleticism, range, and just two-way ability from everyone there. I agree, man. And I hope he's back next year because I think he'll be a superstar. And maybe under a different coach, he could be like one of the best players in the MLS.
You know, I was thinking about this award and I thought to myself, I've got a weird, wacky formation in mind.
Okay, what is it?
Okay, you got a 3-man backline, 3 central defenders.
Okay.
Right? You got a diamond midfield with Yannick Bright, Rodrigo de Paul, Telasco Segovia as the 2/8s, and then Lionel Messi as your number 10. And then you've got 2 wingers, no striker, just out and out wingers in Baltazar Rodriguez and Matteo Silvetti. That would be a bomb team. I don't think we'd win everything, but that'd be such a fun team to watch. Am I missing one player? No, I think I've got it all.
No, I think
I'm missing one player.
That's 10.
Yeah, there you go.
You can go to a back 4 with the diamond though, in the front too.
But that's so fun to watch. That would be so fun to watch.
I'm with you on the Telasco thing. I'm afraid to fall in love with the idea because I just think he's going to get a big money move this offseason. But maybe Javier Mascherano is 4D chessing everybody, and he benched him for the last month of the season. So when
nobody finds
someone
out how
comes
good he
calling, they're like, he's a bench player on an MLS team. Maybe we shouldn't be spending all this money on him. So I don't know. Okay, my final award is the If the Glove Fits award.
Ooh, if the glove fits, wear it. I'm not really sure. I'll say Luis Suarez.
It's
I
not
have no
Luis
reason for
Suarez.
that. Oh,
But just out of curiosity, what made you think it was Luis Suarez?
I don't know. I thought we were giving an award to Jordi Alba, Lionel Messi. Maybe Luis Suarez felt a bit left out. No, I don't know. I thought he deserved an award, maybe, or deserved to be talked about in your eyes, but clearly not. So, who does the award go to if the glove fits?
If the glove fits, you must wear it. It goes to Baltasar Rodriguez. And I am very intrigued on what your thoughts are on what I'm about to say. One of the things I wanted to see from Baltasar is to find a way to be an impactful player as a support player. Because if you come into the game and you're just trying to take every single shot or be ultra aggressive, that's super fun. But I do think that takes away from a Messi-led Death Star type offense. And Mascherano, I think Mascherano agrees with me, which is why we've seen Baltasar play a little bit of a different, more conservative role over the past couple of weeks. And I think he's growing into that role. And then it goes back to what I said in the first half. I thought they played this game in the midfield. And while Baltasar had his moments and he was fine, man, when they get to that second half and they are playing way high up the field and you can still let Baltasar do all that ultra aggressive stuff, that's what he's really exciting. Another player, and I think we've been talking about this all season. It's true with Messi. It's true with Suarez. It's true with Alba. It's true with Ian Frey. It's true with whoever's a right winger. Like if you can play in the opponent's final third, that's where those guys are their best. I think it's true about Baltasar. So it's just another player in the starting 11 that plays his best ball when you're way higher up the pitch. Do that. It's not just Baltasar. It's everyone in the offense. I thought Baltasar had a good game yesterday, really involved, but especially in that second half, in the first 20 minutes when the entire team was playing high up the pitch, that's when he was really shining. Just play that style from the get-go, and I'll be very happy. And I think so will everyone else on the team.
Yeah, no, Baltasar has definitely grown on me. Again, one of those players that somehow gets involved in the goals and assists regularly. But I think more than the goals and the assists, for me, what was important was how does he do off the ball? How does he do when we're not scoring, when we're in adversity? Right? Is he just a player of moments? But yesterday, I thought he didn't have a particularly good game in the first half because he was getting exposed a lot. But he's been quietly getting involved in the build-up. And then when that second half came through, him, Jordi Alba on that side, Telasco Segovia behind them, the intricacy with which they were playing through the Nashville defense, there were a lot of bodies in there, and they were just playing in and around that, and that looks so good. And then you can also have Baltasar running in behind and running at players, and as you said, like taking shots from distance. And this is a very dynamic player. And we may not have seen that consistently throughout the season, but I'm starting to get on board with it. And I really liked his performance. You push him up. When the team is high up, I think Baltasar is a great asset to have. Whether he starts, whether he's on the bench, regardless, I think this can be a player that can be very serviceable to Inter Miami in the playoffs. And if he does well in the playoffs, sign him. I also think he's going to be here next season.
The signing him thing is still weird because he's played like 15% of minutes this year.
Yeah.
But you know what? It will. That's a conversation we'll have at the end of the season because we don't really know what his medical history looks like. We're not with the team doctors, and we don't know what he looks like in training. So, but certainly on his play, like he's a good player. I just think his particular signing is multifaceted. But as far as his role going to playoffs, like I think he's another player that suits better when the whole team's up.
Yeah.
And I think that's true about Messi and Alba and Suarez. So just do it. Just do that.
I hope so. Javier Mascherano, are you listening, mate? Just do it.
Okay. Other performances that I wanted to sit on for a few minutes. Maxi Falcone, I thought was not as bad on the rewatch as I thought he may have been the first time I watched it. Rodrigo de Paul, same. It's the thing about Rodrigo de Paul is he's had a couple like poor games, and then he's had a couple unimpactful games. And
This was an unimpactful game.
the general narrative about him has been he's been poor, but that's only been 2 or 3 performances. This was just another sort of unimpactful game. So I feel better about him after rewatching than I did on the first watch.
I think my idea about Rodrigo de Paul is fairly simple. You're not putting him up for success. You're asking him to do a lot. And he looked so much better when he was trying to spread the play out and play on the front foot and push forward. When he was playing on the back foot, trying to defend and then win the ball and also build up slowly as that playmaker, he wasn't particularly great. So when you have someone who's a deep line playmaker given the opportunity to create and feeding it into Rodrigo de Paul, I think Rodrigo de Paul is a lot better as that player. He's not playing as a box-to-box, by the way. Under Javier Mascherano, he's not playing as a box-to-box, and he is a box-to-box midfielder. So utilize his strengths, and hopefully you get the best out of him.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I've seen the thing that will unlock him yet. So I don't know if I'm there yet. But Cello had, I think, some poor moments on the back post, lost in transition a little bit defensively, but I kind of think that's who Cello is as a player, and they were much better on that side as soon as Ian Frey came into the game. And then obviously, we'll get to Ian Frey in a second, but offensively, it was fine. They didn't do a ton down that right side. We've talked about this a number of times when you have Tadeo Allende and Cello on that right side. You get very lucky. You get very little from the right side, and if you get anything, you kind of take that as luck. So Allende steps over the ball, misses a sitter that you got to finish, but I didn't think it was horrendous aside from that moment. Disappointing, but I think it gets much better if you put Ian Frey in there. It takes pressure off Allende, and you're better both offensively and defensively on the right side.
I think that was my biggest issue. Cello was fine until I saw Ian Frey come on and get an assist and a pre-assist. And then you're like, damn, we could have had this from the first minute itself. But again, nothing surprising or revelation. It's not a revelation, is it? So
no. And if Cello Wagon is a come off the bench player for the rest of the season, then I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Sergio Busquets, I thought was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was very good in that second half. He controlled the tempo.
And then 3 players I do think we should sit on for a minute. Ian Frey came on. This is, I think, the best I've seen him look. I don't know if it's because he got some confidence from going with Jamaica, but he was more aggressive and had some really high-quality moments. Gets the assist on the connection with Messi. He also has that really nice dribble down the right side where he is leading the attack. He is he's farther forward than anyone else, and it's Suarez and Messi coming through to fill in the holes. He finds the gap on the cutback pass. Suarez obviously leaves it. Messi finishes. It wasn't anything until Ian Frey made it something, and I thought that was awesome. He's a star. I am afraid to have any conversation about his future right now, but as far as Friday night, if he's in the starting 11, I feel way better.
You know what it is? He's the kind of player who thrives in these situations. When the team is slightly on the back foot, needs a goal or two, he will carry them on their shoulders and be like, listen, I know we have superstars, but I'm going to be the one who's going to take on responsibility and accountability here. I think he really enjoys that. And that showed yesterday. He is not afraid by who he's playing against or who he's playing with. He will do what he thinks is the best thing to do, and he will showcase his talent. And that's why I love it. He's fearless. And I think that's going to be a big asset in the playoffs. We didn't have him last season in the playoffs. So hopefully it's a difference maker.
Speaking of not having him in the playoffs last year, Yannick Bright comes in and just does what he does.
Has to start. Please.
He's not going to.
He's not going to.
You know what? If you can get out to a hot start early and you can really put the pressure on going forward, bring him in the second half to close out a game, I feel is really a winning recipe for this team, considering the sort of locked-in assumptions we have to put in. And the last player I wanted to talk about was Luis Suárez. Got a lot of flack on the Raw reaction last night. I certainly thought it wasn't wasn't a particularly good performance. He trips over himself at one point in the first half. And then there is a moment in the second half where Messi delivers a really nice through ball. And I think if you're watching that, especially if you're watching it thinking Messi's about to break the record, you have to finish this. Like you're disappointed with the final product. I rewatched it a couple times today, and I didn't think it was as bad of a non-goal as maybe I thought it was last night. He tries to round the keeper, and Joe Willis gets a fingertip to it, and it kind of throws the ball off, and then there's nothing there. I thought it was a nice play out by the goalkeeper. And aside from Messi and maybe Suarez, I wouldn't have expected anyone else on Inter Miami to finish that consistently. So, like, I thought his performance was pretty fine. He had a moment where he got Baltasar in, and Baltasar hits it wide in the first half. He has another moment where he's off by maybe 6 inches on a pass to Messi. Messi can't quite get to it, and he hits into the side netting. Another opportunity, sort of off a player, but sets up Messi for a shot that hits the post in the second half. That was the closest moment I thought Messi had to getting that 6-goal contribution. Was a shot Messi had in the 69th minute. Suarez crosses it in, it's deflected off a Nashville defender, and then Messi has the ball inside the box, and he whips it towards sort of his near post, and it just hits the post. And if he scores that, we're talking about all the records and stuff. I thought that was the closest moment for Messi, and started off by Suarez. So I thought Suarez was like fine. I wouldn't say he was great, but I thought he was fine in this game. Impactful and all that.
You know what the thing with Suarez is? Unless he has a goal or an assist in a game, there's like he'll have these moments, one or two, where he just looks so clunky and awkward and has a weird situation, like he trips over or whatever. That's what you remember for the rest of the game. So I think he was fine. On the rewatch, it was okay. I thought he could have done better with a few chances, but honestly, it's such an old tale now that we've had this conversation about Suarez time and time again. He'll probably get a goal or an assist in the next couple of games. So that's what he is as a player.
And just like, considering the standards, Sam Surridge, third highest goal scorer in the MLS this season, he had like 4 big opportunities in that game, and he scores one.
Yeah, and he missed. Yeah,
it's not like anyone else in the league is automatic either. So I thought Suarez was fine in this game. I didn't think he had like a particularly poor game, like I may have thought last night. I think that's it, man, for this game.
I think that's it for this game.
I think
what does the future hold?
I think we should save some of the future talk because we're going to talk about Nashville a ton
so much
over the next couple of weeks. So we'll save the preview for next game. Let's just do this. Final position battle, sort of what you need to see from specific position battles. And then we'll wrap it up there because the season's over. What do you need to see at right back in the playoffs?
Is that even a question? Ian Frey has to be.
Has to be Ian Frey. Center back?
I would like to see Noah Allen and Toto Aviles, especially against Nashville, but I think we're going to see Noah Allen and Maxi Falcone.
I think it has to be Falcone and Allen because Falcone is playing and in form, and I don't think Aviles is in form. Like, I think you needed to do what you did with Rocco. Give Aviles 3 or 4 game run up. So I think it has to be Falcone and Noah Allen at this point, even though I agree with you. I would have loved to have seen what you said. In the midfield, I think it's going to be RDP and Busquets. I think it's crazy that we've found ourselves in a formation and playing style that doesn't include Yannick Bright, but we have, and I'm okay with it if we win all our games.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the test of Javier Mascherano's playoff tactics. If Inter Miami doesn't go deep in the playoffs, we're going to blame the fact that Yannick Bright was not on the pitch. As simple as that. That's going to be one of the factors. Yesterday, the game could have been completely different if Messi hadn't turned on the Messi magic. And one of the reasons would have been, why didn't Bright start? So the fact that people like Taylor Twellman agree with us just goes to show how universal the truth is. And we'll reserve our judgment to see how the playoffs go. So I think you're right. RDP and Busquets are going to start the midfield.
Strikers, number 10, Messi, Suarez, not really a conversation. Alba at left back. Left midfield / winger. Feels like it's either Baltasar or Segovia. It feels like it's Baltasar. You happy with it? You okay with it?
I think I'm happy with it.
I'm happy with it too. And then last two, and I think these are the most interesting conversations. Goalkeeper may have been a bigger conversation 48 hours ago. It's locked up now. It's got to be Rocco.
King of the hill, baby. King Rocco Ríos Novo.
All of the Chuck Norris jokes over the course of the season to lead us to this moment where he's the man. And then the last
Survival
one
is the fittest.
Yeah. The last one is right winger. We haven't seen Segovia play there all year, sort of right midfield, right winger. So it feels like it's either Silvetti or Allende. Up until yesterday, Allende, I thought, was in like good form for him, was scoring goals, was making runs in behind. Yesterday, I didn't love. He has a real, just totally whiffs on a ball from like 4 yards out. And then Silvetti, I guess, is the other option. And I don't think Vafa or anyone else is like available in that spot.
I think it's going to be Allende. I don't think Silvetti's played enough for him to get the start. I think there's a player there that would be better in terms of contributions compared to Allende, but I think Allende is going to get the start ahead of Silvetti. There's no time to experiment, so I think that's going to be the case. But I would almost say that there's a world in which you move Messi to right wing and have Bright in the middle to have that three-man midfield, but that's not the formation that Javier Mascherano plays. So I think it's going to be Allende.
Pepto in the chat is talking about Suarez, and he says Suarez has a lower chance conversion rate than Allende, that we are stats guys. Do you mind if I take 10 seconds to mention Suarez's stats? If you go look at his FB ref page, he's in like the 99th percentile for like almost all attacking stats, and even non-penalty goals is 73rd percentile. It's just green across the board, and the players that he is most compared to in terms of his stats and percentiles are Hani Mukhtar, Lionel Messi, Victor Gyökeres, like superstars. So those are the stats on a like per 90 basis. That's all the battles, like 52 games, and we've ended up right here. And there's been some wild runs, wild turns. And I think we got to where we feel pretty comfortable and happy.
And I'm almost happy now that at least there's a set 11. I may not completely agree with the set 11, but I think there's a set 11 in Javier Mascherano's mind, which is good. If I see anything other than that, especially in the centre-back positions, I might be surprised for the worst.
Guys, for those that don't know, the MLS playoff schedule for the first round came out today. Inter Miami's first game is on Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then the following 2 weeks will be on Saturday. The third one, obviously, only if there's a game 3. So mark that in your calendars. Inter Miami's first playoff game, Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We will be here for the pregame show at 7 p.m. Eastern time, as you guys know. And I feel much better about this playoff round than I did last year. I think Inter Miami has what it takes in this round, and I think this is a good matchup for them. Jay asked in the chat, who do you prefer in the second round? Either way, I feel like that will be a much scarier and more nervous game than what Inter Miami has.
The second round is it, man. I think that's the hardest that we'll face.
I think if they get through the second round, they're going to win the MLS Cup.
Yeah.
I should take that back because of what this team has done for us this season.
No.
Okay.
No.
I want to end on this. Maybe just 2 minutes or a few minutes on this. Inter Miami finished the regular season 65 points. They did they did really well on paper in all the tournaments that they were participants in. I know there was some very frustrating ends and some unacceptable performances along the way, but they were 1 point off the Supporter Shield, only 7 points worse than last year. No, I'm sorry, 9 points worse than last year, which
feels a lot, but it's margins.
I think it's way less than it feels. Like I think if you looked at the performances, I would have guessed maybe like 18 points.
Yeah.
And it's 9. So that's like it's good. And I think they found their form. I think the coach has finally understood how to set this team up for success. I think he's gotten more confident in his sort of backup plan. I think he's gotten more confident in letting his attacking players be attacking players. And so the team is pretty healthy. David Ruiz, the most serious injury. And everyone's in good form, especially and most importantly, Lionel Messi. So I think the MLS regular season was like pretty good, all things considered. And I'm willing to admit that that's potentially biased by the way it ended, but like I want to give them credit for pulling out like a really good regular season.
Let's think about what I said or we said in terms of our predictions for the regular season. And I said Inter Miami is going to finish second or third, maybe fourth, and I'll be happy with that. I think Inter Miami, at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, did exactly what we expected them to do in the regular season. My only caveat was that if you don't win the Supporters' Shield and if you finish second or third in the MLS regular season, that means you should have won a trophy or two, because that's where your effort would have gone in to drop points in the regular season. That didn't necessarily happen, but we just still made deep runs in other tournaments. So I think we fell short on a few accounts, but the regular season, I think overall I was very happy with the performance and how it ended, at least. You needed to finish on a high, and you did. And fans right now have a good feeling about this team, and I think that's justified.
Not for nothing, but if we had started Rocco all year, what kind of conversation would we be having right now?
It's ifs and buts, man.
Okay. Congratulations to the team. Great season. Everything counts from here on out. And the truth is, we're either going to win the MLS Cup or we're going to be crushed at the end of this season. And so I want to appreciate this moment. And I thought they really closed out strong, and we're in a really good spot. And I feel great about the team right now. So bravo to the team. Bravo to all the players, to the coaching staff, and kudos to the fans, and to you, Saur, for being on this journey with me, and to everyone in the chat. Appreciate you guys so much, and it's all to play for from here on out.
5 wins. Let's go.
All right, guys. We'll see you sometime in this midweek, maybe to just watch Messi's goals together. We'll see. But until then, I hope you guys have a lovely night, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this, and have a wonderful day.